Measure the nuclear genome sizes of 13 deep-sea amphipods, Alicella's dwarfed everything else in the study by a factor of nearly 9. At 34 gigabases, it is one of the largest crustacean genomes ever recorded. And crucially in this case, the animals with the biggest genomes had the biggest bodies. Size is written into the blueprint before the animal even begins to grow. Then in 2021, researcher Wenhao Li and his team at Shanghai Ocean University went deeper. They compared the transcriptomes of Alicella against a much smaller Hadal relative and found something striking. If you needed a quick refresh on transcriptomes, by the way, here's how I think of them. So the genome in my head is sort of a library of every book ever written, and the transcriptomes are the sort of list of books currently open on the reading desk. Essentially, the transcriptome tells us which instructions the body is actually using at that exact moment. Now, Alicella carries genes that regulate how cells multiply and how bodies accumulate mass, that show clear signs of positive selection. Genes that are not just present, but actively being pushed by evolution. The signal, it seems, never fully stops. Most animals reach adult size and the instruction to grow goes quiet. In Alicella, something keeps the dial turned up. Year after year, decade after decade, with no hard ceiling. Scientists call this indeterminate growth, and Alicella's genome appears built for exactly that. This is the molecular machinery that allows gigantism to happen. At the surface, a giant genome would be a liability. It's slow and inefficient to copy and uses up lots of energy. You'd lose to faster, leaner competitors. But 7,000 meters down, where life moves slowly and predators are scarce, that massive genome is now an advantage. So food scarcity and sub-zero temperatures make it pay for creatures to be big. And a huge genome that never gets the signal to stop growing is how deep-sea giants grow so huge. So that's it, I guess. End of video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. If only things were that simple. Because our next giant takes things even further. And to find it, we have to go somewhere that shouldn't support life at all. To meet an animal so strange, it forced scientists to rethink what an animal even is. Most starfish have 5 arms, but as you descend 500 meters down, something strange happens. They suddenly get 50. This is the Antarctic sun starfish, 60 centimeters across, living in water so cold that it sits a fraction of a degree above freezing. It uses those arms like fishing rods, writhing through the water, snatching anything that drifts past, which is why it's often referred to as the wolf trap starfish. But before we get into why this starfish is so supersized, a quick word on how deeply strange starfish already are. They have no brain and no blood, and to eat, they eject their stomachs out of their mouths to engulf the food, digest it, and then slide it back inside. It's both awesome and disgusting in equal measure. But anyway, in 2023, Stanford researchers were mapping the master genes that tell every animal cell what part of the body it belongs to, whether that's a tail, a lung, a fin, or something else. But when they got round to the starfish, their results were astonishing, because the starfish is just a head. A head that at some point evolved the ability to walk around on the sea floor, eating things by ejecting its own stomach. And if you thought that was cool, by the way, it's not until you zoom into the cellular level that the magic really begins. You see, there are 2 ways to build a bigger animal. One is to pack in more cells, which is what elephants do. An elephant cell is roughly the same size as a mouse cell, there are just trillions more of them. Or another option would be to make each individual cell bigger. Inside every living cell, 2 processes are constantly racing. The cell building itself up, making proteins, accumulating mass, and the cell copying its DNA, then dividing it into 2, which keeps it nice and small. In warm water, these two processes run at roughly the same speed, copy, divide, copy, divide. But here's the thing. In near freezing water, the chemistry of cell growth changes. Protein synthesis, the building part, keeps going, but the signal to divide slows down. The cell keeps accumulating mass, but the trigger to split is delayed. By the time division finally happens, the cell is already far larger than it would be in warm water. And if every brick in the wall is oversized, the wall is oversized too. The Antarctic sun starfish lives in water that sits a fraction of a degree above freezing all year round, exactly the conditions where this mechanism runs at full power. 50 arms, 60 centimeters across. The cold didn't just allow this animal to grow, it built it from the inside out. Now, don't get me wrong, these animals are pretty cool, quite literally in the case of the starfish, but we promise you deep sea giants, the really big stuff, and I am ready to deliver. From here on out, these things are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Let's start with a creature with legs nearly 4 meters long, with the same basic body plan as every insect that ever lived, made absolutely massive by an invisible ingredient almost everything on Earth needs to survive. Every arthropod, that's every insect, spider and crab, shares the same design flaw: no veins. Their blood doesn't travel through a closed system, but instead sloshes around loose inside the body cavity, bathing the organs directly. Scientists, perhaps rather kindly, call it an open circulatory system, but really it's a terrible way to deliver oxygen at scale. On land, this puts a hard limit on size. The largest insect alive today, New Zealand's giant weta cricket, weighs barely more than a golf ball. But 300 million years ago, atmospheric oxygen was nearly double what it is today, allowing creatures to grow much larger. Dragonflies had wingspans of 70 centimeters, with the same body plan as a regular dragonfly, just supercharged by oxygen. Back to today, off the coast of Japan, cold water sweeps down from the north in powerful deep currents. At 10 degrees Celsius, this seawater dissolves roughly 40% more oxygen than warm surface water, and that oxygen-rich current has been flowing over the same stretch of seafloor for millions of years, long enough for evolution to take advantage. A few hundred meters down, we find the Japanese spider crab, locally known as Takaashigani, meaning tall legs crab, with legs stretching to almost 4 meters tip to tip, wider than a VW Beetle. Weighing up to 19 kilograms, this is the largest living arthropod on Earth. That same open circulatory system that stops insects growing large on land is now a crucial advantage. Cold water doesn't just carry more dissolved oxygen, it dramatically slows the metabolic rate of every cell in the animal's body, reducing how much oxygen it actually needs. The demand drops, and larger bodies in cold water are better at regulating oxygen uptake than smaller ones. As a crab grows, its body volume increases faster than the surface area of its gills. In warm water, that creates a problem. There's not enough gill surface to supply enough oxygen to all of that tissue. But cold water changes the equation in 2 ways. Firstly, it slows down the metabolism of every cell, meaning the body needs less oxygen to keep running. Secondly, it holds more dissolved oxygen per liter, so the demand drops and the supply rises simultaneously. A body size that would slowly suffocate in the tropics breathes comfortably in cold water. Like most long-lived decapod crustaceans, there is no final instruction to stop growing. The legs keep lengthening year after year for as long as the animal survives. With a lifespan that can reach 100 years, that's a lot of leg. So if their legs never stop growing, why don't we find crabs with 10, 20, 100 meter long legs? Well, there's still a hard limit on the total energy available, and although they keep growing, it happens very slowly. In most cases, they die before the growth stops. Every year, the Japanese spider crab molts its shell and grows a new one, spending days as a completely defenseless, soft-bodied 4-meter target. And often that spells the end of the road for this crab. But some other giants do far better. Before we go on, there's actually one other giant problem I need to get off my chest. Data brokers. Those annoying people that are more than happy to sell my personal info to the highest bidder. Things like my email address, home address, and even family information. I mean, why can't they disappear to the bottom of the ocean and join these guys? The good news is this year I've been fighting back because I'm using Delete Me. It removes my personal information from those websites, and honestly, it's been a total game changer. When I first started using it at the start of the year, I had more data breaches than a spider crab's leg, which put my data at significant risk. Luckily, thanks to Delete Me, I now have 0. Even when the odd spam email does slip through the net, all I have to do is simply make a request via the online portal, they look into it and sort it out really quickly, and it's very satisfying to shut down the spammers, I must admit. So, if you like to disappear beneath your own digital deep sea void, why not join Delete Me? There's no deep sea giants I admit, but they are giving our viewers an awesome deal. 20% off with my link, joindeleteme.com/AstrumEarth, and use code AstrumEarth at checkout. Thanks to Delete Me for sponsoring this video. The link is in the description if you want your digital life a bit more private, as we head back to the giants of the deep. Dropping down to 1,000 meters, deep into the twilight zone of the Pacific Ocean, lives a giant that has remained essentially unchanged for millions of years. Yet we only identified one out in the wild for the first time